From the Ministry of the Presidency in Georgetown, this is This Week with the President.
Welcome to This Week with the President, a program which takes an in-depth look at the policies, programs, and work of the President of Guyana in his quest to realize the good life for all Guyanese. I'm your host, Gomati Gangadin. Thank you for joining us. In the highlights this week, security boosted at frontline communities as President Granger vows Guyana will not give up its territory. New Department of Energy to be established as government seeks to boost accountability and transparency. You're entitled to public information. President Granger tells Aishalton residents at Radio Aishalton launch. Ethnic Relations, Teaching Service and Integrity Commissions sworn in. These stories and more on This Week with the President. Stay with us. President David Granger, along with the team from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, remains focused on diplomacy as the first line of defense of Guyana's territorial integrity. The Guyana Defense Force is critically important to ensuring total national defense, defending the nation's borders and maintaining internal security. As Guyana continues to deal with external threats and intensified border tensions with neighboring Venezuela, its military, being the primary organization responsible for border protection, is now more relevant than ever. Following a visit to Whitewater Region 1 2 weeks ago and a visit to Kaikan Region 7 last week, the President on Wednesday said that he has instructed the Guyana Defense Force, the GDF, to brief the Parliamentary Committee on Security on the steps that are being taken to secure communities located along the 800 kilometers border with the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela.
At the Defense Board meeting, which was held last Thursday, I've instructed that the Guyana Defense Force should brief the Parliamentary Committee on Security to let them know what preparations are taking place, and I expect that there will be full participation both by members of the government side and the opposition side. If necessary, we will take this to civil society, and I've already briefed the Chief of Staff of the GDF that civil society must be aware of what is taking place. So we are operating at different levels. We are operating at the local level, at the villages, in the frontline villages themselves. I'm personally going there. That's one of the reasons why I did not go to Haiti, because of the domestic situation.
President Granger referenced the frontline village policy that was announced during his visit to Whitewater, which includes the setting up of military patrol bases and heightened 24 hours security by the GDF and the Guyana Police Force. It is in this stead that the Commander-in-Chief, who chairs the Defense Board, visited Baramita Region 1 on Wednesday to interact with residents and assure them of the government's commitment to their safety.
Venezuela has been claiming our land, particularly Region 1, the Barima-Waini region, which is over 20,000 square kilometers. Region 7, the Cuyuni-Mazaruni region, which is over 47,000 square kilometers, bigger than the Netherlands. And biggest of all is the Rupununi, which is over 57,000 square kilometers, bigger than Costa Rica. So Venezuela has been claiming more than half of our country. The Barima-Waini, the Cuyuni-Mazaruni, and the Rupununi regions. But I want you to know that we are not surrendering 1 centimeter of our territory, not a blade of grass. We are here to work with your village, with your region, with your Tushao, with your residents, whether they are Carib or Warao or Arawak or Arakuna or Akawayo, to make sure Guyana is safe.
On January 30th, Secretary General of the United Nations, Mr. Antonio Guterres, announced that he had referred the Guyana-Venezuela controversy to the International Court of Justice, the ICJ, putting within sight a possible end to the threat to Guyana's territorial integrity. President Granger said that while Guyana looks forward to making its case before the International Court, the unstable situation in Venezuela has presented some threats to Guyanese who live in the bordering communities with that country.
We are interested in the village of Baramita. We are interested in the region, the Barima-Waini region, and we are interested in Guyana. We want to see a village that is strong. We want to see people who feel safe. And we want a region that is secure. That is why we are here. We're here to strengthen this village, to protect the people, and to ensure that the entire region remains secure. So we have come with a mission.
The head of state, however, told the residents that while the government is working assiduously to address concerns of threats, there is a role for the people of Baramita and further afield to play. In this regard, he called on all Guyanese to treasure their nationality and to guard Guyana's sovereignty, noting that peace in the region is critical to the development, safety, and security of South America, including Guyana. Regional Chairman Mr. Brenthal Ashley noted that the regional administration is committed to working with central government for the good of all the residents of the region. He expressed his satisfaction with the leading role the President has been taking in ensuring their security.
I want to thank you, Your Excellency, for coming to this community and to recommit your solidarity in ensuring that the lives of all Guyanese, and in specific the people of Baramita, is secured. I know that just a few days ago you were in the community of Whitewater, in which you made a similar commitment to the people who would have been gathered there. And we at the level of the Regional Democratic Council reiterate our firm commitment to working with the central government in ensuring and securing the vision of a good life for all Guyanese, and one of that being security of all our people.
Tushao of Baramita, Mr. Trevor Matthews, said that it is the first time in his memory that a head of state has visited the community. He noted as well that the community has begun to notice some improvements in the delivery of services and development of infrastructure since 2015. It was along these same lines that the President visited Kaikan, a community which is located in the Cuyuni-Mazaruni, bordering Venezuela, last week. During his meeting there, the Commander-in-Chief said that Guyana depends on frontline villages like Kaikan to be the watchmen of Guyana's borders, and therefore, these villages must be strong, stable, and their citizens safe. The residents, who have had a number of terrorizing encounters with the notorious Sindicatos gang, welcomed the head of state's visit, as well as the boasting of security in the area by the Guyana Defense Force. The community now benefits from 24-hour security. During a briefing with GDF ranks deployed in the area, the president was told that Venezuelan civilians and even military personnel crosses the border to Kaikan Health Post to seek medical attention for malaria and other diseases, while the traders come over to sell or to barter their goods with villagers from communities like Kaikan and Arrow. Tushao of Kaikan, Mr. Claude Anselmo, said that while these might seem as legitimate activities, a number of illegal activities are also taking place. This, the GDF has pledged to eradicate at all costs, but President David Granger said that while the Army and the police will intensify their efforts to ensure their safety, they have a significant role to play as they are the eyes and ears on the ground. A simple look at oil-rich nations around the world would show that despite the possible negative impacts, a strong, well-managed oil and gas sector can transform the socio-economic landscape of a country. This is precisely why Guyanese, by and large, are optimistic for 2019-2020, when oil giant ExxonMobil will commence production of oil in Guyana, thereby realizing a dream that is shared by generations of Guyanese. With a booming natural resources sector, it is incumbent on the government to ensure that the tenets of transparency, good governance and accountability are steadfastly adhered to. In this regard, as the country welcomes the announcement of a sixth oil discovery, Cabinet has announced that in keeping with the proposal made by Minister of Natural Resources, Mr. Raphael Trotman, a new Department of Energy will be established under the Ministry of the Presidency to oversee the oil and gas sector in due course. In the concept note submitted to the Cabinet, Minister Trotman outlined the need for the new department and the role it will take on with regard to oil management. It stated that, and I quote, "Given the evolving macroeconomic and national security considerations and the transformative nature of the imminent production of petroleum, it is his view that several matters must be taken into consideration. Key among those was the proposal that, open quote, all policy matters including but not limited to the negotiating and entering into contracts and issuing of licenses for exploration and production be transferred or reassigned to the Ministry of the Presidency and placed within a Department of Energy and Development," end of quote. President David Granger is on record as committing his government to the development of the sector in a manner that will allow for all Guyana's people to benefit equally and in an environment of complete transparency and trust. Moreover, he assured of full involvement of all stakeholders, including the parliamentary opposition, in the process. In his address to Parliament in November 2017, the President reaffirmed this commitment.
Guyana's natural resources are part of our patrimony. We must protect and sustainably manage these resources. The institutional capacity and the adoption of an appropriate legislative and regulatory framework for the sustainable management of the nation's natural resources sector, including the emergent petroleum sector, are being strengthened through the efforts of the Ministry of Natural Resources.
During a meeting on August 30th, 2017, with a visiting delegation of ExxonMobil executives at State House to discuss matters related to the status of exploratory and appraisal work in the Stabroek Block, as well as the relationship between the government and the company, President Granger said that at the end of the process, Guyanese must be able to view the development of a petroleum industry as one that is beneficial to the national interest. He said, and I quote, "We are at the start of an oil and gas industry, and we want to ensure that our people are involved. We are happy with the way things are going so far, and we want to assure you of the government's commitment to transparency and accountability. We take decisions at the cabinet level, and then those decisions are taken to the National Assembly, and we do not see that process changing. All Guyanese must feel involved in the process." End of quote. Thus far, the government has taken all the necessary steps to ensure that the sector is properly managed. These efforts were recognized by the international community, and as a result, Guyana's application to the Extractive Industries Transparency Initiative, the EITI, for candidature was approved. The country, through the Ministry of Natural Resources, has been working with the Inter-American Development Bank, the IDB, the World Bank, and the International Monetary Fund, the IMF, to develop a framework to ensure that this new industry is properly managed. Moreover, the ministry has also been engaged with the Commonwealth Secretariat to craft a strong regulatory and legal architecture for the management of the oil and gas sector. Article 146 of the Constitution of Guyana states, "Except with his own consent, no person shall be hindered in the enjoyment of his freedom of expression, that is to say, freedom to hold opinions without interference, freedom to receive ideas without interference, freedom to communicate ideas and information without interference, and freedom from interference with his communication. It is in keeping with this right of citizens that President David Granger on February 17, 2018, commissioned Radio Aishalton in Aishalton Village, South Rupununi, Upper Takatu, Upper Essequibo, Region 9, where he said that it is the right of every Guyanese, regardless of their geographic location, to access public services, particularly public information, which will ensure that they are equipped to make informed choices and decisions and to have their voices heard.
Your government is concerned that as far as the delivery of public information is concerned, just like public health, just like public education, you should not be wanting for public information. And this radio station is going to assist not in education alone, not in information alone, but in democracy, in government. When I speak of public information, I speak of a public good. What is a public good? A public good is something that everyone can take away, but it will not diminish. It will not deprive somebody else from enjoying that good. That is what a public good is, not something personal. And a radio station is a public good that everybody can benefit and nobody can lose. You have a right to public information. The Constitution of Guyana, the Constitution of the Cooperative Republic of Guyana, the supreme law of our nation states that this is a fundamental right.
President Granger said that the day marks the opening of a new but important chapter in public information in Guyana and for the hinterland. The head of state said that the Constitution of Guyana mandates that every Guyanese should be given the freedom of expression, and as president, he will ensure that every citizen has a voice.
Here, you must be able to broadcast to the residents of the Rupununi in the languages of the Rupununi, of which I think there are 3, or if not 4. In the north, you must be able to broadcast in Makushi. In the south, you must be able to broadcast in Wapishan. And eventually, in the deep south, you must be able to broadcast in Waiwai. In other areas, you may have to broadcast in Patamona. And in other areas, you may have to broadcast in English. But people must be able to listen to programs in their native language.
In the dissemination of public information, however, the president said that the message must be tailored to suit the audience. Where necessary, he said the native languages of the target areas should be used. The president also said that every individual hired to work at the radio station must exhibit a sense of responsibility and respect for professional ethics and integrity, as he noted that the public information systems are not organs for the spreading of propaganda, but rather a medium for objective discourse and communication.
And this radio system too, apart from the practical and technical aspects of communication, must adopt the professional ethics of journalism, of radio broadcasting. That is, they must adhere to the standards of objectivity and social responsibility, and they must avoid vulgarity.
The president noted that the radio station is but one component in a larger vision of ensuring equal access to social and public services to all residents across the country, where each region has its own economic centers. Without those centers, the head of state said Guyana's hinterland will remain underdeveloped. Meanwhile, Village Tushau, Mr. Douglas Casimero, in his remarks, said that the community is pleased with the initiative, as he committed to working with the government to ensure that the president's plan to bridge the developmental gap between the hinterland and the coastland is achieved.
That today, temporarily, the seat of government is at Aishalton. So I'm very thankful to His Excellency. I'm saying that online, but direct to him. and also to the Vice President, Sidney Alicock. Thank you, and indeed we are now going to bridge the gap between the coastland and the hinterland, and more so to be given the right to information. So with this, I would just like to tell everybody who is listening to us that I-Shelton welcomes you, especially to our petrocliffs right here. So with this, thank you, and I would like to say to His Excellency, we are with you.
Thank you.
We are with you on the road of development that will help us to realize our fullest potential as indigenous peoples in particular.
Mr. Randolph George, our resident of I-Shelton, said that he is particularly pleased with the decision to involve youths from the villages in the work of the new radio station. He said that the initiative signals government's commitment to inclusivity.
We are happy to get this radio station brought into I-Shelton. Where we listen to the news then in and around of the country, not like before where we have to like wait for newspapers to read newspapers from Lethem, which will be like 3, 4, 5 months ago. Now we get the news from newspapers. But now I think that is a great improvement, like where we'll listen to our radios at home now, listen to our own.
As government seeks to boost transparency, accountability, and foster an environment of good governance, President David Granger last week swore in the 10 members of the Ethnic Relations Commission, the ERC, and 7 members of the Teaching Service Commission, the TSC, even as he urged them to discharge their duties without cowardice, malice, and prejudice. In addition to this, on the same day, after more than a decade of inactivity, 3 of the members of the Integrity Commission were administered the oath of office by Chief Magistrate Anne McLennan, paving the way for increased scrutiny and accountability of public officials under the Integrity Commission Act.
I, Roshan Khan, do hereby solemnly declare that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the people of Guyana, and that I will faithfully execute the office of member of the Ethnic Relations Commission without fear or favor, affection or ill will, and that in the execution of the functions of that office, I will honor, uphold, and preserve the Constitution of the Cooperative Republic of Guyana.
The members to the ERC are Mr. Barrington Braffett, Ms. Ruth Howard, Mr. Roshan Khan, Major General Retired Norman McLean, Pandit Deodat Prasad, Mr. Ashton Simon, Ms. Rajkumari Singh, Bishop John Smith, Mr. Nia Suban, and Mr. Norris Witter. President Granger said that the ERC is intended, inter alia, to provide good relations, harmony, peace, tolerance, and understanding between our peoples, provide equal opportunity between persons of different ethnic groups, and prescribe ethnic discrimination.
The Constitution vests the Ethnic Relations Commission with wide-ranging functions. It lists, at Article 212D, the 24 functions which are assigned to the Ethnic Relations Commission. These functions entail a broad range of actions and interventions, including education, investigation, monitoring, reviewing, recommending, and research and study. The work of the Ethnic Relations Commission is essential to ensuring ethnic harmony and social cohesion in our republic.
Pandit Deodat Prasad, in a brief comment, said that the ERC will endeavor to create national cohesion and goodwill amongst the various religious faiths and the ethnic groups.
I believe, as a person who comes from the background of fairness, transparency, impartiality, these are the things that I will use as a hallmark and benchmark in the execution of my function. At the end of the day, I think every young person, while I will be representing that constituency in this prime sense, but I have a responsibility of representing every single citizen of Ghana. And I first and foremost believe that at the end of the day, this is our country. Everyone has to get a piece of the pie, and there must always be fairness. People must not believe or feel discriminated.
With regard to the TSC, President Granger said that the body is mandated to ensure that teachers' appointments are undertaken by an independent body and are based on merit. Meanwhile, members sworn into the TSC include Ms. Avril Crawford, Mr. Alan Monroe, Ms. Elizabeth Ramlal, Mr. Amjad Shaw, Ms. Deborah Thomas Holder, and Chief Education Officer at the Ministry of Education, Mr. Marcel Hudson. The latter was sworn in as an ex officio member.
The Teaching Service Commission is vested by the Constitution with, and I quote, the power to appoint persons as teachers in the public service and to remove and exercise disciplinary control over persons holding or acting in such offices. The work of the Commission will contribute to ensuring a core of qualified, trained, and highly motivated teachers in our educational system. It will assure these teachers of fairness in their appointments and due process in the exercise of discipline.
Newly sworn-in Commissioner Mr. Amjad Shaw commended the government for ensuring that these constitutional bodies are reinstated.
It is indeed an historic day because it shows the commitment on the part of the government to have these constitutional bodies up and running so that we can execute what is being mandated. And so these things have been outstanding, and there have been lots of criticisms coming from all directions. And I want to compliment His Excellency for this bold move in having these commissions formally enacted and up and running. And I look forward to working diligently to solve all the problems of the teachers. They're an important people. They have been playing an important part, and I'm quite sure they will continue to play an important part in building this nation, molding this nation.
Taking the oath for the appointment of the Integrity Commission were former magistrate and commissioner of title, Mr. Kumar Durasamy, who will serve as the chairman of the commission, Pandit Rabindranath Prasad, and attorney-at-law Ms. Rosemary Benjamin Noble. The fourth commissioner, Ms. Thandai McAllister, is currently out of the jurisdiction and will be sworn in at a later date. The chairman and other members are appointed by the president after consultation with the opposition. Now we will take a look at the president's diary. On Tuesday, President Granger accepted an official invitation to the International Solar Alliance, the ISA, Founding Conference and Solar Summit from Indian High Commissioner Mr. Venkatachalam Mahalingam and Ambassador of the French Republic to Guyana, Mr. Antoine Joly, at the Ministry of the Presidency. The event, which will be held on March 11th in New Delhi, India, is being co-hosted by the governments of India and France. On February 18th, the head of state joined Chinese ambassador to Guyana, Mr. Chi Jaishun, as well as members of the Chinese community here in Guyana at the new thriving restaurant Providence for the celebration of the Chinese New Year 2018, which has been designated as the Year of the Dog. The president said that the Chinese who first arrived in Guyana in 1853 have enriched the country's national culture and diversified its economy, adding that they have done so while still preserving their cultural values. President Granger said this is an occasion to renew long-standing ties of blood, history, and friendship between Guyana and China, a time to recall the undeniable contributions which the Chinese have made and continue to make to Guyana's development, and a time for celebration.
This year, as you've learned, we celebrate the Year of the Dog. The dog is characterized as faithful, loyal, sincere, and reliable in Chinese astrology. The Year of the Dog, therefore, promises to be one of building stronger ties and sincere relationships. The Chinese Lunar New Year and Spring Festival is observed wherever persons of Chinese origin live and work. The festival looks forward to the new year with hopefulness and with happiness.
This year, Guyana observed the 165th anniversary of the arrival of the first batch of Chinese indentured immigrants. Moreover, January 12 has been designated by President Granger as Chinese Arrival Day in recognition of the sterling contributions of the Chinese to national development. President Granger on February 22nd received a farewell courtesy call from outgoing Argentine ambassador to Guyana, Mr. Luis Alberto Martino. Ambassador Martino will be replaced by Dr. Felipe Alejandro Gardella, whose appointment was approved by Cabinet last month. During the meeting, President Granger thanked the diplomat for his service to Guyana and for contributing to the strengthening of ties between the two countries. Ambassador Martino, who spent the last 6 years in Guyana, said that of all his postings in his long career as a diplomat, he has developed a sense of connection to Guyana, so much so that he is sad to be leaving. Mashimani is an Amerindian word which, when translated, means celebration after hard work. This year, the annual celebration was held under the theme, Let's Cooperate and Celebrate Republic 48. Thousands of Guyanese from all walks of life turned up at the Durban Park on February 23rd to witness the traditional Mashimani float parade, and President David Granger and First Lady Ms. Sandra Granger were not to be left out. They were on the scene admiring the costumes and floats displayed by the 25 bands which entered the parade this year, many of which depicted the common themes of celebration of Guyana's natural patrimony, sustainable development, national unity, food security, and technology and innovation. In a brief comment, the head of state said that he was pleased with the massive turnout and extremely impressed with the creativity of the floats and energy of the revelers.
I think families have come out to enjoy it, and of course there's a very nationalistic theme to the whole thing. So I think it's great they're using their initiative and their imagination to express their national sentiment. I think it builds cohesion, to use a popular phrase, and of course it also helps the people express themselves and gives our creative people an opportunity to display their concepts of the way the country is going and development.
Similar sentiments were expressed by the First Lady, who was very happy that good weather had prevailed after the heavy showers during the evening's flag-raising ceremony. She lauded the designers of the costumes and floats.
I was very impressed. We've got good weather, and there's a massive turnout here in Durban Park.
Along with the winner of this year's
floats are very good. They depict not only our cultural heritage, but also our economic prospects.
The Mayor of Linden,
so I would say that it's a form of national and social cohesion that people have come together. And this is really a national celebration in which people of different walks of life, although many of the floats are government, they represent programs, they represent economic progress, they represent cultural and social cohesion. So I think it's very good. I would like to see shows like this in all of the regions.
Just the night before, the first couple, along with ministers of government and other dignitaries, joined thousands at the same venue for the annual flag-raising event. The event featured a cultural presentation which celebrated our people, our way of life, and our natural patrimony. This was followed by a military parade, and the highlight of the evening, the hoisting of the golden arrowhead on the 180-foot flagpole at midnight, followed by the traditional fireworks display put on by the Guyana Defense Force. With that, we have come to the end of this week's edition of This Week with the President. Thank you for joining me. For regular updates on the Ministry of the Presidency, go to our website at www.motp.gov.gy, like our Facebook page, Ministry of the Presidency, and follow us on Twitter and Instagram at MOTP Guyana. Do have a safe and productive rest of the week, Guyana. Goodbye.